Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Well, today we're doing a color transfer technique on the gel press plate. Now the print's gonna look like this. Actually, this is the print that you're gonna see at the end of the video. And if you've ever wondered, how do you get all those little colors here and there, those little bits that give it that depth, that interest, and do it in one pull? Yep, you're gonna find out in this video. Now, what exactly makes all these funny lines on here? Where did that come from? It came from trash. Check it out. So here's what I'm going to be using. These are little cardboard triangles. Where did they come from? They came off of a picture frame. These were to protect the edges and corners so they don't ding into things. And I realized what fun I could have with these because they're a great size and shape to grab and hold, and I can stick them together. So I'm going to use a glue gun and I'm just going to glue them together. Except I'm going to use a lot of glue. I don't want these to just very nicely go together. I want them to not be completely attached, but stuck together. So basically, I want that gap in there. And that gap just isn't enough for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them apart because this glue is super hot and it has not cooled yet. So that gave me some time to change my mind, pull them apart, and get a lot more glue on there. Now, as I'm doing this, I am being generous with the glue. I'm putting lots on there because I actually want to create that wide gap between them. I'm also going to let them cool a little bit before I stick them together because my glue is really hot, really living up to that name it has of being hot glue. So I'm going to give it some time here to kind of cool off so that it'll still stick together when I do this, but it's not going to go all squishy and flat. I really want it to keep that dimension to it so I can get that gap. And you're going to see when I use this to make the print how that's going to create some extra lines for us. Now, I've also got empty sides on this, and why waste that space? So I'm just going to do some random scribbling, whatever glue gunning here on the edges, and that's going to create another stamp, another pattern or texture that I can put into a print if I want. And while the glue's hot, if I put it on something flat and non-stick, like that sheet there, what that means is after it's completely cool and I lift it up, it will be a flat stamping area. So now let's start making some prints here. I'm going to put 3 colors of paint onto the gel press plate. These are all paper artsy paints, and then I'm just going to brayer it around, getting the paint spread all around the plate so that it's ready for me to put some pattern and texture in with that very fancy tool that we just made together. What I'm going to do is take it and just press it right down into the paint. You'll notice that I give it a little bit of a wiggle there. That helps pull up more of the paint, and so I get a clear impression. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and then I'm going to stamp it again, and now I'm going to create a bunch of boxes or a grid all throughout this print. So yes, indeed, mind that gap that we have there between those pieces of cardboard, because that's part of what's giving us 4 distinct rectangles each time I press down. Now you saw it a little bit in the paint, but you're really going to see it in the pull. So I've put a piece of cardstock on here, and when I lift it up, you can see all of that grid pattern put right in there. So now you know how the technique works. Let's push this a little bit farther and change it up a little bit. This time I'm putting 6 colors of paint on the plate, and I'm going to do the stamping with the cardboard just a little bit differently than I did in the last print. Now, by the way, as I'm putting all this paint on the plate, the cleanup paper that I'm getting over there, I am falling in love with, and it's going to coordinate perfectly with the finished prints. I mean, after all, it's made with the same colors. So let's get this pattern in here. I'm doing it just like what I did last time. Notice I've got that wiggle to it. And as I'm doing this each time, a little bit of the paint is transferring, moving around every time I put it down. So if I put it down in some orange like I did here, and then I move it down on the turquoise, guess what's going to happen? Some of that orange paint, traces of it, are going to transfer into the turquoise. Now, when the mood strikes you, do the very fancy maneuver of flipping the tool around 180 in your hand, and that's just going to make a slight, subtle difference in the colors that get moved around. And then you just keep repeating this process over and over until you're finished. But you're probably wondering, how do you know when you're finished? How do you know? Well, that's a very personal question. If you're like me and you like lots and lots of stuff happening in a print, you do it a whole bunch. Perhaps you like a different look. Maybe that brings you joy. Then that's exactly how much you should do it, because when it makes you happy, that's when it's finished. And this one was definitely making me happy, so I put the paper on it. Now be sure to notice when I pull this up how all the little bits of color have mingled around from moving that piece of cardboard. All the little bits of color transfer. That's what gives the print its depth, its richness, and it was all done in one pull. There's a little bit of paint left on the plate, so I'm going to gamble and see if I can't get a ghost print from it. Just going to put a piece of cardstock on there and pull it up and see what's waiting for me. Now, even though there wasn't a lot of paint left on there, it still gave me a fun ghost print. Well, thanks so much for stopping by for today's play. If you've been enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have another video out. Want to see more things that you can do with the gel plate? I've got a great page of resources waiting for you over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.